Zombie films aren't anything new, but I don't think I've ever seen a Filipino zombie movie, and that has now changed. Outside is now on Netflix, so let's dive in. Together with his wife and two sons, a father flees to his family's secluded farmhouse to seek refuge and restore some semblance of normalcy back amidst a devastating zombie outbreak. So this is more of a family drama with zombies than a zombie movie centered around a family. Now, as the synopsis says, we follow this dad, Francis, his wife Iris, and two sons, Josh and Lucas. And when we meet them, they're fleeing something unseen and unknown. Although the outside of their vehicle, it has some visible evidence of why it might have gone down. Now, once they arrive at Francis's childhood home, the zombies, they're not the only thing that begins to create fear and terror. And this is where the story both excels and falters. The actors excellently showcase torment and an unusual level of unease. I mean, it's way more than the world-ending type of stress. There's something internal within the family members that it's a little off, which then creates a palpable rift in their interactions. Sid Lucero plays Francis, and although there are some moments when we can feel sympathy for him, the majority of the time he was exuding a very unlikable aura. He's cagey, snappy, cruel even. And I think what makes the performance all the more unsettling is that his emotional state swings wildly in an instant. So he's unpredictable, and that then sets up some awesome thrills. Beauty Gonzales is Iris, and she has this haunted and mournful expression throughout the majority of the story. Through vague discussions, something occurred in Iris's past that informs her and Francis's current relational engagement. And through each of their interactions, Gonzales continues to showcase this masked strength and resolve. I mean, she's got a survival instinct to her, and that also drives her to shelter her sons. Now, throughout the film, we're shown some very odd visions and sometimes brief flashbacks, giving us horrific imagery of Francis's father looking like he's some soulless maniac demon. His eyes kind of glow, which is a great effect, and then he's illuminated through flashes of light, like by a strobe or maybe lightning, and it creates only brief visuals that are very frightening. And I can infer through the conversations and even Francis's mannerisms that the relationship that he had with his father was tumultuous, maybe even scary. But all of the events of his past are only hinted at. Even the strain that's felt between Francis and Iris, it's danced around. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what caused it, but how it happened, when it happened, even why it happened, they're all mysteries without concrete answers. The story does a wonderful job of establishing dread and then creating an impressive atmosphere. And that's well before we even see our first zombie. There's a descent into madness that we witness, and it's a harrowing journey. I mean, we watch characters unravel and then make decisions and actions to make for some very visceral reactions from us as the audience. There were more than a couple of times that we were yelling at the characters. I mean, sometimes just out of the disgust for their behaviors, other times just in the hopes that they'd hear us and make an escape. And then when we do get to see the ghouls, the makeup and the prosthetics are gross and awesomely made. I like, too, that the reason for what created the outbreak, it's not addressed. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And now we just join the characters already within the world as it is. The undead, or mostly dead, are also creatively realized in this. They haven't fully lost their humanity. I mean, even though they will devour you if they're given the opportunity. The black and lifeless eyes show this emptiness, but also sadness. Like they kind of understand what's happened to them, but they're also unable to control their bloodthirsty urges. And their movements are fun too. I mean, some saunter around like drunk toddlers, while others can go into a full-on sprint. So you never know the threat level until it's right on top of you. Now, through a lot of the sequences that showcase the zombies, there are some excellent continuous takes, as well as immersive camera movements that either can capture the stressful urgency and terror of a chase, or maybe illustrate the slow, dreadful entry into an unknown location. And in these instances, we get the perspective from the character. It's a bit freaky because our field of vision is now more limited, allowing for nasty things to sneak out of corners without us knowing it. Now, the movie is over 2 hours, and I did feel the time. There's a lot of time when we just watch the characters slowly going mad, typically out of boredom or hunger. And while the plot does continue to twist tighter with discomfort, the lack of insight into the visions and the strains, it also bogged down the pacing. I think there were plenty of areas to trim that would also still showcase the downward trajectory of the characters' mindsets. And through a more concise story, this would have then become a very taut thriller, rather than one that unevenly distributed its anxiety and fear. So overall, Outside is a creatively realized family drama, using the stresses of a zombie apocalypse to showcase the degradation of relationships. The acting is excellent, providing dynamic characters who elicit visceral reactions, and the makeup and prosthetics are disgustingly created, crafting monsters who display a knowing sadness. Unfortunately, the vagueness of key plot points and the uneven pacing create a patchy watching experience, marred by an overlong story that detracts from the horror. There's sex, no nudity, some profanity, and a bunch of violence. I give Outside 3 out of 5 couches. All right, do you have any favorite zombie films? I mean, there are so many to choose from. Let me know yours, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.